Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Velvet Lounge Life. And yes, we are going to discuss business today, people. eBay, being an entrepreneur, a business person, having plans just in case. And what does just in case equate to? That could be almost anything, including the current situation that we are in the entire world right now, as well as how to reduce your dependencies. So we are going to get right into this. I am also, of course, as you can see, going to be reviewing some of the things that we sold on eBay under our Antiques, Uniques, and Collectibles store. We also have what we call the everyday type of item store. So there you'll find tools and things that are more general. One of the other things I'm going to discuss, and I'll do it right now, is what you should be careful of when you're trying to resell. One of the things that you should know, and you should already know this as a consumer, the number one category for sales online across the board is what? What product? Note what you believe it is down below in the comments, and let's see if you're correct. That should be long enough for you to comment because it's just one word: clothing. So if you are selling clothes, whether it's from your own closet, whether you buy brand new to resell or used things to resell, and it doesn't matter what the age, it could be male, female, children. It doesn't matter sizes, obviously. But one thing I did learn is the larger the sizes, the better your sales. So if you're selling things that are like 3X, 4X, 5X, 6X, yes, people, there are folks that are that large out there. It's hard for them to find clothes in the store. So them buying them online is their best bet. Plus, online they can compare prices and hopefully get something that's reasonably priced. So that is the one clothing niche that you should look into if you're not into it already. But every size below those, which are considered standard sizes here in the United States anyway, the market is flooded. And cloth items are one of the largest waste items here in this country, probably in the world. So landfills are full of them. I mean, clothes are made for, pennies and sold for $15, $20, $30. And they're considered to be basically sort of throwaway clothes versus if you buy that pair of jeans that cost $120, that is definitely something that should last you many, many years and should not be considered a throwaway item. So it should be considered more of a clothing investment, if you will. We're not talking about clothes that are like that, but it's just something to be aware of as you are trying to make some extra cash. Why am I telling you this? So that you don't get your expectations up way too high and wonder why your clothes, your old shoes or sneakers are not selling online and someone else seems to be making sales. You really have to look at all of the details to figure that out. Is it a certain brand name? Also, make sure if you're selling something that's Fendi, Gucci, whatever, Versace, that it's actually authentic. Because if it's not, those would be violations, which would get you thrown off of many, if not all, selling platforms if you are reported. So yeah, you could be taking a gamble and maybe you got away with it, but I can guarantee you, you're going to get that knowledgeable buyer who probably would be incredibly unhappy and definitely report you. So just be aware of that. So what do I see that's really selling out there online? I see it's more general items because they're hard to find the stores. So for people that are selling, I really hate to say this, but health and beauty aid items, and really the reason, and I'm even going to say some medical items, the reason I hate to say that is because you have to be really careful buying those items from a third party seller that is not Target, it is not Walmart, it is not JCPenney, it is not Sears, it is not Walgreens, CVS, whatever those big national names are, and the Kroger's, BJ's, the list goes on and on. And the reason that you have to be careful of that is because you do not know where those folks got those items from. There are plenty of videos out there of people crawling, creeping into nasty, disgusting dumpsters behind stores that in good faith threw away items that are outdated, threw away items that someone returned because they could be tainted. And you have that person who will creep into that dumpster, dig those items out, clean them up, and sell them as if they're brand new online. You have got to be careful of that. Me personally, I never buy anything like that, ever. But I know some people might be desperate, and just be careful that your desperation doesn't make you end up in the hospital. But other items that you could buy, such as this pen, for example. Yes, it's a higher end pen because it's $50 plus $8.95 for shipping and handling. It's gift box. It comes with all of its original parts. It's a complete set. But you can buy regular pens out there like Bic or I can't remember all the names of the pens, but whatever is out there that kids might need for school, you might need for your business, etc. But just be careful of buying food, health, beauty aid type items out there, medical devices, because they may not be safe. So this pen is a Waterman Expert fountain pen, and it comes, as you can see, with everything in the picture. And we already discussed the price. And I found that I actually thought that this is our antiques, uniques, collectibles, and some other miscellaneous items, not many, store that we have on eBay, but we have another store that is more for general items such as tools, electronics, etc. That's the other, it's just my opinion, less interesting store. But this store, I actually thought that business would slow down exponentially because of what's going on. However, because people cannot go out, window shop, buy some of the things they want for their collections, to decorate their homes, whatever, I'm finding that online sales are really not suffering. So if you're into online sales and online services, of course, everything depends upon what it is, then you should be doing pretty well. I know there are a lot of people crying poverty, and that is legit for many businesses. For example, if you are in the mom and pop restaurant business, you probably are suffering a bit unless you changed your business model on the fly, which is where we get into talking about planning. So when you start a business, you should always have, of course, your initial pie in the sky, this is what we're doing, dream. And then, of course, you taper that down a little bit to what you're actually doing. But there should always be a plan B, C, and D. The plan B is pretty close to what your plan A and what you're currently doing is, with some minute adjustments that you can make quickly and on the fly to make sure that your business does not get in trouble. The plan C, that's where you're getting into, it's not just going to impact you, because maybe you're not a single proprietorship. If you have other family members involved and they rely on this as one of their number one main incomes, or maybe it is the number one income, then plan C needs to be solid, quick, and there should be a lot of differences versus your plan A and plan B. For example, if you were in a brick and mortar, plan B or C means that you are getting out of that brick and mortar. Why? Because immediately you will save thousands of dollars because you're not paying a lease. You don't have to pay electricity at that location and whatever other expenses locationally that would impact you go away, unless you're carrying debt, which I hope that you're not. So I'm going to say something that might be controversial to some people. However, for the real business entrepreneur, this should not be controversial whatsoever. And just note down in the comments what your thoughts are on this subject. So, as I look at the world, and we look at all these adjustments that had to be made, obviously working remotely, whether you are in sales or whether you are in services or education, which is a service, it is key to keeping things going right now. How many of you think that a large majority of businesses are going to end up being more remote or pick up only services? Because if you think about your local pizza shop, and I'm thinking about this because in our town, we have one. That's how small our town is. Our town actually has a lot of land mass, but not many people live here, thank God. But we have one pizza parlor, and it is a mom and pop place. And one of the things that the owner was talking to my husband and I about maybe 2 summers ago is just the drop he saw in the number of people that would come in and sit down with their families or friends or whatever, have a meal. And he was like, I have all the space. And, we could see not only, we were in line previously, but a bunch of folks were in line. And almost everybody that goes to this place know these folks because it's the only pizza parlor in town. And because it's where we go for good pizza. It actually is really good. So, we're standing there talking to him and he's like, yeah, this and that, and whatever. And I don't need all this space, but what am I going to do? Because he, is leasing the place for however, I think at that point he had like 5 or 6 years on the lease. And he re-upped for that long because the amount he was paying was low, but they were getting all these bodies in the door. Even when they had like different specials, they were getting folks in. Now for those specials, they're not getting people in because people are, willing to buy the pizza, take it home versus eating in. And so if you think about like something like that, he had already made the adjustment, thankfully, to having more of a pickup business, even though he still had all that square footage. And now, I think that is more important than ever because people are saying to themselves, you know what? We can, go buy our food, bring it home. And people were doing that already, but not on the scale that they're doing it now. Obviously for goods, a lot of people can't walk into a store, and that's a good thing. Or if they can walk into a store, there are certain restrictions. And if you don't want to follow them, guess what? You have a choice. Don't go to that store. Because if I'm shopping there, I don't want you there either if you don't want to obey by the safety rules. And it's stupid and it's selfish not to. So what you do have a choice of doing is buying goods online, signing up for services online. Perhaps you were thinking about remodeling your kitchen, for example. I don't know if this is the right time for you to do that or not. That's not what this video is about. But what you can do is comparison shop for the materials needed online. So before, what people would do is mostly walk into the store because, and I get this, I sort of like this myself, you want that tactile experience of touching, looking at, flipping it over, you know, whatever materials, items that you're going to use or buy, or even just consider for said projects. So one of the things you have to remember is when you are doing an online business, you still have to run it as if it's an in-person business. You have to be dependable, timely. The price is the price. Whatever is agreed upon is agreed upon. Make sure all the details are accurate. Shipping is key to making sure your items are delivered as you pack them. So you don't want to have something delivered and have it broken because you were cheap with, you know, the styrofoam or the bubble wrap, or using a flimsy envelope versus putting something in a box and then putting it in an envelope. You know, you have to think about all of those things. So let's get back to looking at some things that sold, and then we're going to talk about plans a little bit more. So this is a Connecticut Street Rod Association license plate from 1967. It was in amazing condition. Now, this is a very specific group, so not everyone is in the Connecticut Street Hot Rod Association. And I don't know, like, if the person who purchased this had, you know, relationship with the year 1967 or the cars themselves, but it sold for $24.99 plus $7.95 shipping and handling. Next, we have this beautiful Chinese pillow. It's actually what they call a foot pillow. So it's meant for your golden lilies. I actually learned that term from a book I was reading by Amy Tan. And golden lilies are like when they bind the feet and they change shape, and supposedly it looks sort of like a lily. Sort of it does, if you think about it. It's kind of weird. It's, you know, but this is what we sell. Some unique oddity type items. You know, the person who purchased this, hopefully they enjoy it. Fetishes can be us as well. But it actually sold for $99.99, $14.95 for shipping and handling. Another item that was kind of odd, and I don't know if I can get a closer picture of that, is this token. So if you recall, we purchased a box of tokens for very, very, very little money, not even probably half a cent each. This was one of them. It sold for $14.99, and it has, you saw the image. I think the image is supposed to be a negative image, but I'm not sure, and I should have probably have done a little more research on this before I sold it, but I was okay with selling it for what it sold for, because, like I said, I don't think I even paid half a cent for it. And the character is named Sunny Jim, and it's a good luck health token. So yes, we sell probably at least 2 to 3, if not more, tokens in some weeks than others. I have a lot of them still to list. I have a lot of listing that I need to do. So to get this account or this store up to the number of active listings that I want. Our other general eBay store, so much easier to list for, because those items, you could type in a UPC code in some cases, and a lot of pre-filling can happen. When you're selling antique, unique, collectible oddity items, you have to do the research. You have to put pretty much everything in from scratch. So it takes a lot longer. Plus, you need a lot more photographs as well. So that's another thing to remember, is when you are selling online, anything that is a product, make sure you have plenty of photos. I just skip over folks that only have like 1 or 2, maybe 3 photos, because I know they didn't take the effort. One of the things I like to do is buy buttons in bulk. But when I buy them in bulk, if you have one picture and you tell me it's 10 pounds worth of buttons and I can only see the top layer, I just move right on, which is not good for you, because you could have had another active bidder or someone who actually bought your product, because a lot of them could be buy it nows as well. So this is something else. We actually had a collection, not a large one, but I would say a medium, small collection of IBM ephemera, flow charts, punch cards, everything that you could possibly imagine to run some of the old IBM machines that which were computers that actually take up large rooms, needed specialized air conditioning. My mother actually ran one of those machines and she, I believe, was one of the first people to run one for a large insurance corporation. And so, yeah, IT has been in my blood for decades. I didn't even realize I had inherited it from my mother until maybe like 15, 20 years ago. But this lot, everything you see in it, sold for $39.99. And although it says $7.95 for shipping and handling, I couldn't believe it, but the shipping was like $50 plus because it went to Australia. I was able to get the shipping price a little bit lower for him. So I think at the end of it, he paid maybe $30 for shipping. And it was the cheapest that I could get it to go to Australia. If you have any ideas on better overseas shipping, especially somewhere like Australia, the UK, I can do, like United Kingdom, I could do okay. But even there, Africa, please let me know in the comments below what your suggestions are as far as better shipping options, so I can hopefully help those people by getting the shipping prices down a little bit. So we will stay on this picture just for a moment. So as we talk about planning, when I talk about planning, I am talking about having your initial business plan, which you are using to work your business now. The kinks have been ironed out. You're on a roll. You've been doing it. You think that this is the best thing ever. It's going to last forever until an epidemic hits. So did you have a plan B already? If you didn't, you should have. The moment you decide to begin a business, even if it's a side gig, you should make sure there is a plan B if you want to keep that business viable. There are some people who are like, we're doing this until something happens, then we're retiring from it, and that's okay. That's success because you made the choice of when to, finish. You're done. I mean, if you own a bakery, are you going to bake until you're 100 years old, or are you going to retire at age 60 and do something else? It's all about choices, but to avoid business failure, you should always have a plan B. Now, your plan B might be very similar to your current plan, but it's something where you can make quick adjustments and still have a viable business. Your plan C is a little more extreme. That is where, and I'm going to use this example, this is where you might be in a brick and mortar and you decide, no, we are not paying this lease anymore, and all of the expenses that go with having a physical location, we are going online 100%. That can be a very smart plan. And the reason why is if you don't own the land, wait a minute, I want to adjust this. But if you don't own the real estate, the best thing you can do is probably see if there's a way for you to get out of that brick and mortar. The reason why is, when you have to pay that lease and all of the expenses that go along with having a physical location, then that means you have to make that much money in profit to pay those expenses before you pay yourself. That's just basic business, not even 101A. So you want to make sure that if there's a way for you not to ever have to have a lease where you're paying someone else money. Now, you can actually have a trust or a corporation or something where you own the business, but you have this trust or corporation and you pay a lease into the trust or corporate, like there's different things you can do creatively as a business person. Talk to a financial expert for those. Also, yes, if you are paying a lease or buying a straw or a paper bag or tape for the cash register, all of those items are 100% tax deductible as long as you have the receipts and can prove that those items are only used for your business. But every single month, you still have to pay that lease and try to make the money back and then make a profit over it so that you can be profitable. However, if you don't have a lease and all of those expenses that go with it, then you are able to concentrate more on your business, and almost from the first dollar, everything could be profit. Almost. Why? Because you're still going to have expenses. You still need to buy supplies, perhaps. Maybe you need well, of course, you'll need an internet service and whatever electronics go along with that, whether it be phones, laptops, etc. You also, if you're doing something that's goods related and not service related, then you, of course, need whatever goods you're selling. So whether you get those goods from your own house or dwelling or relatives, or you get them brand new for resale or wholesale, obviously to resell, or used, like some people will go climb in a dumpster to pull stuff out. Be careful of that. Also, there are a lot of people who are selling food they pulled out of a dumpster, but it's in non-perishable packaging, health, beauty aids, medications, medical devices, etc. Please know what you're buying and who you're buying it from. It is a very common practice. There are plenty of videos out there, even people in the regular national news warning people about that. Because the funny thing is people will complain about it, but you should have did the research before you purchased those nuts that were like 3 years old online and they came to you stale. So just be careful of what you're buying online. So when I'm talking about this whole business model, I am not talking about stuff like that. So anyway, what you need to do is simply, like I said, make sure you have your planning in order. Because when all those expenses come due, whether you're in a brick and mortar, whether you're doing it in your own, maybe you own the real estate where you're doing it, that's really the best way to do it if you can. If you have a large enough home and rooms you're not using, guess what? You have the room to start a business and you have the room to store things. Now, you do need to make sure that if you do that in your home, that things are neat, orderly, and that there's dedicated space for that business. I will say that that is a super important thing because you don't want your business to take over your life. You do want to get away from it on the weekends or whatever it is that you do. So what you're looking at here in this picture that's sold on eBay, there's like hundreds of sewing notions, tools, accessories, etc. And I sold all of this to a lady in one giant bundle, and she was really happy to get it. She left amazing feedback, of course. And I was so happy that she got it that I had some extra things that I added to this lot that are not pictured and sent those to her as well because I knew I would never be using them. Oh, and the shipping was $8.29, which was super surprising, but then I found that the person actually lived in my state, which I thought was super cool. We have this closed men working sign. I feel as if I talked about this sign before, but the guy just left feedback on it, which took him a while, but hey, he left it and he loved it. He said that he's going to actually put this up in his garage. I thought that was super cool. And, oops, I'm going to go backwards. I think I talked about cuckoo clocks before in the past. because I love selling cuckoo clocks. I sell them, I don't care if the clock is together and running, I still sell it as parts. I will not break it, obviously. That would be insane. But the reason I do that is because they can be so delicate that by the time they get to the person, it's possible something could have like come apart or whatever. Yes, there's a lot of them online. Yes, a lot of them do not sell, but there are a lot of them that do sell. You just have to know exactly what you're looking for. So anyway, I would like to thank you guys for tuning in today for another episode of the Velvet Lounge Life Does eBay. And please remember again to subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up. And yes, we are the best unedited eBay channel in the world. Yes, I said it. Yes, we are. And if you have any questions, any type of content you want me to cover, please note it down below in the comments. Remember that your health is your wealth, and without your health, you have absolutely nothing. So please, please, please take care of yourselves. What's happening is not a joke. We know that firsthand. And also be safe.